game number one, as we have spawning in the top right-hand position is the green Zerg player representing Team Dignitas, looking to avenge his teammate in this qualifier and advance to play in Shanghai. Can he do it? It is Tefel. He's going to be going up against the teal Zerg player in the bottom right-hand corner, representing VP Ben Q. An incredibly tense and close series against Tefel's teammate Dignitas Bling. And just making his way out of there alive, he now faces a fellow Zerg. Can he do it? We have sLivko.
You know, we had a list of phenomenal players going into this qualifier, and I'm going to be honest with you. If you're to tell me who were in the round of 4, these would be one of the last few I picked. Don't get me wrong, Tefel and sLivko, phenomenal players, but when you have someone like Gloves, someone like Grubby, someone like Bling, Cass in this tournament, Baby Knight, you expect those to be the ones in the top 4, but these guys making some big upsets and showing us that they are huge threats in the European scene.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I think the two fan favorites on each half of the bracket really were Grubby and Baby Knight, possibly coming into this qualifier, and both of them have now been knocked out. So, really looking forward to see who is going to be making that name for themselves, who's going to be moving on to Shanghai here. We can see the pool started significantly earlier, of course, for Tefel, and that's because the hatchery is going to be faster here for sLivko. Kind of two routes to get to the same location, to be perfectly honest, as after injects tend to balance out here. They're more or less in an equal position going into the mid-game.
Yeah, this is just, you know, we're going to be playing out to be a standard game, both players getting their gas around the same time. sLivko getting his just a little bit quicker here. It's just a waiting game for now. You know, most Korean players, they don't tend to go for the pull into hatch that we saw Mr. sLivko do, or excuse me, Mr. Tefel do. You know, they don't like to do these middle of the road builds. Don't get me wrong, pull hatch is a safe standard ladder build that you want to do, but when it comes to tournament games, top tier players, what you want to end up doing is going for the more either 10 pull type style where you're really aggressive early on and you're trying to contain your opponent, or you go for the hatch first and get that powerful economy. Those are the builds I like to see, but Tefel wanting to, you know, this is an important game for him. Again, the winner goes on to China. So he's playing as safe as he possibly can, and you know, you have to respect that. He's not taking any chances in game one. He's not underestimating his opponent.
Yeah, and Tefel, I think that's a really good summary, to be honest, of his mindset, and it's a very good place to be. You don't want to underestimate your opponent, like you mentioned there, and you want to be able to play solid and safe at the same time as not trying your best not to give your opponent any sort of advantage just because you're being safe there. And we can see sLivko, actually, he's going to be going for a bit of aggression potentially early on as the Baneling nest does get dropped down. Now, those two lings that came in from Tefel haven't seen the Baneling nest yet, so Tefel doesn't know this exists.
It's a good point. We have to see whether this Baneling nest will be aggressive or defensive. I am leaning more to the aggressive side right now. We have not seen a spine crawler from him. If you're going to be playing defensive, most Zerg players are going to throw on an early spine crawler around the same time they start that Baneling nest. So we'll be willing to see, or expecting to see aggressive play here soon from sLivko as soon as he gets his drone saturation where he wants it. And we are seeing that spine crawler from Tefel showing that he wants to be the defensive player this game.
All right, so let's keep an eye on how many Zerglings sLivko wants to make here. It looks like so far this Baneling nest just looks purely defensive. He's not making an incredibly large number of lings. He's not pooling them or trying to hide them from overlords or anything like that. He just has a Baneling nest up. He's going to be using that to get his layer tech up reasonably quickly. I think the overlords from Tefel may be about to spot the Baneling nest here. They're very, very close. He certainly sees the two Banelings morphing in. So he knows that Baneling nest is out on the field right now, and it's a question of what Tefel would like to do. sLivko would like to do, rather, once this hatchery becomes the layer.
Now we're seeing two completely different mindsets from these opponents here. sLivko has been playing very, very greedy this game. He went for the hatch first, and to the really delayed spine crawler, going for lair before spine crawler, whereas Tefel, he's been playing very defensive. He went for the pull first into a really quick spine crawler, into a really quick Baneling nest, and is just now starting his lair. So both players, they are playing economic, but you can definitely see their mindsets going into this game. With Tefel playing a little bit more defensive, a little bit more safe, whereas sLivko, he's being the more greedy player, willing to take these risks and take the lead, trying to get for this extra fast spire.
And sLivko actually did something there that was very, very useful against Tefel. He managed to come out with a double queen and picked apart an Overlord, meaning that Tefel didn't have the scouting information he wanted ideally on that layer timing, and also meaning that he was temporary supply block. So definitely a quick win there for sLivko, who has indeed chosen to go straight up to Spire Tech here, and the Spire is already halfway done as the layer completes for Tefel.
A little bit of aggression here coming up from sLivko, moving a lot of lings across the map, has banelings coming up as well. Has already used one ling to detonate one of the banelings. Nice job using the Overlord to drop creep here so he can position the spine color between his third and his natural. Lings coming up to the third base, going to try and get the deny on that. Baneling's not going to intercept the banelings of Tefel. He's trying to get a good connect here. Only takes two banelings to explode other banelings, so you can get a perfect solid connect here. It will look good, great for him, but this one ling is going to be able to take down one of these banelings. Will he be able to save it? He is just barely in time, and both players not really being too aggressive here. Infestation Pit's going to be the tech choice here for Tefel. Now, Infestation Pit is really late here. It's not going to have Pathogen Glands done and not going to have Infestors out for the Mutalisk. If he does not scout this soon, he will not have Spores or Infestors to defend this.
I think that's a really good point. 9 Mutalisks already on the way from sLivko. Tefel has a lot of lings. He's going to be moving out towards the third base location, trying to see if he can get the surround and the kill on this as well. It looks like he's just going for it. A couple of banelings coming in, though. Needs to be very careful. One going off, the second one going off. There are now 4 more here, and I think that's going to be enough to hold this off until the mutas get here. And now the jig is up as far as knowing the mutas are there. Let's see what Tefel's response is.
He did not actually look at his camera. I swapped over to his screen to see if he would. He did not actually jump over to his camera to see the mules when the lings were originally at the third base. He's just now getting sign of that as he's chasing lings across the map, throwing down 2 spore cards, has 3 infestors on the way, but the mules already starting to do some damage. Some overlords being picked off here. Lings trying to battle against these banelings. A good connect goes down for Tefel for the time being. A queen being pulled forward here. Going to try and combat against these mules. He's off creep. It is going to die. Good connect so far from Tefel on the ground, but he's got really no answer for these Mulists ruling the sky right now. Nice job sniping those banelings. Lings are going to control the ground right now. Only thing in production right now for Tefel is the Infestors. He needs to get more lings out on the field to stop the lings of sLivko.
Oh, and the Pathogen Glands wasn't ready, so it's only a bunch of infested Terrans that are coming out right now. These infestors don't actually have any more energy, so they're not going to be able to use Funkles on the Mutalists, and sLivko is going to be able to sustain this attack. The supplies are currently 108 versus 99, and the work supply is 62 to 50 in favor of Tefel right now, but these Mutas are going to be able to do so much damage. A couple of infestors getting picked off as well.
Playing this so very well on both sides. Love the mixing of infested Terrans here, but banelings coming into a natural base. Need to detonate on top of that Spore card, get that down. He's actually losing Mutalisk right now to the Spore, just sitting underneath it. 3 Spore shots kill off a Mutalisk now. Can't afford to be doing that. More banelings coming in for Tefel, trying to clean up the ground force, but these Mutalisks are just sitting here picking off so many infestors here. Mutalisks look like they're finally going to be cleaned up as they're down to 2 in number. Infested Terrans going to finally win that fight. Take a look at the units lost tab. About 1,200 resources in favor of sLivko.
Yeah, sLivko doing very well with those earlier game Mutalisks here. And he's going to be coming off the back of this, going into his own infestation pit. So we'll see at what point he wants to try and get up to that hive tech in this game. He's still only sitting on 49 drones, so he hasn't been droning up behind this. He's been trying for that constant aggression. But I feel like with the death of that initial pack of Mutalisks, Tefel's going to have a slightly easier time defending this now. He'll have enough time to try and get some additional energy on those infestors. And hang on a second, sLivko might be able to snipe this third.
Gets it definitely. Ling's going to dart on out there as well. No energy for Fungal to kill off all these Lings. And, you know, ZVZ in the middle game is what I like to call the battle for the third base. You have to keep your third base alive while taking down theirs. And this is going to put sLivko in such a huge advantage right now. He's got so much more economy. He's got more production right now. If you look at the structures tab, it's currently 3 hatcheries to just 2. Or 4 actually in favor of sLivko versus 2. This is so much more production for sLivko. Tefel really on the back foot right now.
Yeah, that third hatch snipe was so crucial there, because Tefel was just getting into a position where he was thinking to himself, okay, I've killed off the first wave of Mutalisks. I'm going to be able to sit back for a little bit, try and get my infestors a little bit higher up as far as energy is concerned, and then maybe come back a little bit later and see what damage I can do. But sLivko just didn't give him any breathing room to do that, did he? He came straight in with the Lings, able to snipe off the hatchery. Yes, okay, he lost some Lings, but definitely worth it at that point. And now sLivko is, he's feeling okay. He's transitioning into the hive tech. Tefel has got the Hydralisk Den down, though. So that composition you were talking about earlier on, Zoya, that Roach Hydra Infestor play, looking like it's going to be coming out of our Green Zerg.
It still does not mean that Mutalisk play is not a threat. Mutalisks are still just as good as they are before. You know, the only difference is the spore color. You can't fight over bases. You can't deny bases because if you have spores there, 3 shots from a spore color means if you fly into a range of a spore color, you're more than likely to lose at least 1 Mutalisk before you can react and get out of it. That's just how much damage they do. But Hydras being mixed in are going to be a nice composition. It's all going to come down to positioning for Tefel here. Love to see Baneling speed from our Zerg player. If you get Baneling, has he researched it yet? I don't think so. I haven't seen it yet.
I don't personally think I've seen it yet, and I'm pretty sure neither side. Actually, I take that.
He does have Baneling speed.
sLivko has Baneling speed, yeah.
Yes. And that's really important in these next engagements. You want to get past the fungal growth, so you want to connect with the Hydras. That's the most important thing. And we're actually seeing a Ultralisk check transition here from sLivko. I like this a lot.
All right, well, this is going to be very, very interesting indeed. How do you foresee the Ultras playing out in the late game against the composition that Tefel currently has?
You know, if the roaches are all clumped up, Ultras can devour through them. It's just all really going to come down to positional here, which is just kind of the norm for ZVZ is how you engage your opponent and you know what your army composition is. Ultras can work just fine against this composition. It just all depends on where you engage. If you say you engage up the ramp into the third base, that's not going to go as well for you as if you were engaging on the open field.
That's a really good point. Like you said, that splash damage from the Ultralisk are going to play a massive part in the opening battle, especially if those roaches are clumped up. So let's see how well Tefel does deal with his micro quite well. Maybe he gets a really good spread. Maybe just some very, very good positioning from him means that those Ultras get their damage minimized. But sLivko at the moment, it just feels more like he is dictating the pace of the game and Tefel's reacting a bit here. And I think Tefel's fighting back against that a bit, trying to move out into the center of the map. But he's got a lot of energy on those infestors, though, it has to be said. Even though he might not be 100% sure about committing Zoya, he does have a lot of firepower here.
You are 100% right there. The infestors are going to be the key and piece in this next engagement for Tefel. He has to shut down these banelings. Fungal growth on the banelings is going to be so important. If he loses all his Hydras, the Mutalisk will rule the sky. 5 Ultras about to pop out onto the field. That's going to put the upgrades. 2-2 for the melee and carapace for sLivko, 2-0 for Tefel. So sLivko having a substantial upgrade lead right now, and looks like he wants to engage here. There's 3 bases versus 4. A 5th base soon should be started for sLivko. I mean, sLivko has the more powerful economy here, but right now, the composition-wise, I think I like Tefel's a little bit more.
This is a very, very difficult position to defend from sLivko because the entire army is already up the top of that choke, which means that when the rest of the army come in, Fungals could end up being very good. Coming in from the left-hand side of those Banelings, let's keep a watch. Do we have a Fungal on the Banelings? We don't. They're rolling straight in here, and a lot of those Banelings actually getting decent connects. Tefel currently at 182 supply, but sLivko dropping in supply even faster. There are still some units left alive, and like you said, Zoya, they're ruling the skies right now, but the 4th base has been taken apart, and there are a decent number of units left. Will Tefel be able to do some more damage?
Still, though, has 4 hatches he's producing out. He's got Ultras already out on the field to defend at this base. And, you know, that was a really terrible place for sLivko to have to fight. In the choke at that 4th base, there was just not much wiggle room for him to work with. But with that being said, he still controlled that very properly. I especially want to point out the flank he did from 2 different angles from the Banelings and how patient he was for himself to get into position. That is what allowed him engagement to go in his favor. Ling's getting a full surround here. Again, the upgrades are 2-2 versus 2-0. Ultra's doing so much splash as well. Hydra's finally reinforcing, pushing back the Mutalisk supply 171 to 165. Both players are so starved on banks. Neither of them have a 3rd base. This is such a tense situation right now.
It really is, Zoya, and I think moving those units back into the reinforcing roaches from Tefel was definitely a great call there. He did run the risk that sLivko was going to come out and just completely engage, but the Ultras were a little bit behind the army there, so it wasn't quite the ideal angle for sLivko to engage from, and as a result, he pulled back a little bit. He's now getting his +3 attack and chitinous plating up too. He's continuing with those infestors, and a couple of good fungals are going to be key here against those Hydralisks. They're, of course, significantly squishier than the roaches. Let's see if he can do it, because Tefel's now moving in.
Ultra's leading the charge here. They have such great splash damage in Heart of the Swarm now, and I like the fact that he's going for chitinous plating instead of that +3 attack. Having that extra 1 armor on Link is not as important having an additional 2 armor on your Ultras. Leading the charge here, doing so much damage. Roaches and Hydras just being completely devoured. Hydralisk not having enough. Good job from the Queen's transfusing all of these Ultras in supply, swinging greatly in favor of sLivko. GG, sLivko going to take game number 1.